I've written 4 here. Let me change the names here. A is list, B is tuple, and C is a set, and D is dictionary. So here these are the 4 containers, you can say. Now the main difference is here you can access the elements by their indices. You can get 10 by writing a naught. You know that. A0. Here also you can get access to the element, but here there is no ordering. That's how it's not a sequence. So now suppose we want to get access of all the elements using for loops. Let me write for loops here. 0 to 4. So if I run this, I've written here AI. I got the elements here, no problem, absolutely. Now let me change it to B. B is a tuple. The only difference between A and B, if you say, B is a tuple, so B is immutable. The main difference I am saying. So if I in range 0 to 4, you print BAI, okay? Sorry, BI. So if you run again, you are getting. Now you write for C here. C is a set. Yeah, there is a problem. Because you can't get the elements one by one using the subscript, using the index. It's not possible. So even if you print A naught, you will get 10. If you print C naught, you will not get 10, right? You can print C, that's fine. But will not try to print C naught here. That's the problem. You have no index here. So naturally, it's not a sequence. That's the problem. We'll delete this one. Let me write another sequence here. String. Now let's try with E. First of all, run this one. It's working. Then you run this one. Here also I'm able to, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay. You write 4. So I got 4 here. So I'm able to print using the index in each of the 4 cases. 3 cases. The string and the list tuple. These are the main sequences in Python. When I say sequence here, sequences in Python. Here, how you get the elements? By index. One by one, automatically you get. However, the problem with this is you can't get access to these elements. Here, A is mapped to 10, and B is mapped to 20, C is mapped to 30, D is mapped to 40. So if you print the key, the value of this key, you will get 10 that way. So alternatively, how you can write, we don't use this way. Okay. What we can do is, suppose delete it. You write this way for I in A. Print I. So let's try one by one. I got 10, 20, 30, 40. Here we are not printing, taking the index. That is important. We are not using the index to print. We are directly printing. Whatever in A, you print that. Next, let's try with B. This is also possible. Try with C. This is also possible. Try with D. It's another thing. You get the keys here. A, B, C, D. And try with E also. P, Y, T, H. So you get everything in this kind of for loop. How this works within, that's what we want to learn today. Now comes the concept of iterables and iterators. Behind the for loop, we have a concept of iterables and iterators. Now suppose I'll write a list here. I've already, let me repeat once again, 10, 20, 30, 40, make it 50, 60, 50. Then I want to see the directory of A. But before seeing that, remember, list, let me write here. List is a iterable. If list is a iterable, you can apply iter method. Okay. So we can apply iter method. And iter method can be applied to make it an iterator. What is the usefulness of that? We'll discuss here. So what I will do is, suppose I will write B is equal to iter A. Now B becomes an iterator. So you can transfer iterable to an iterator. Then once B is an iterator, you can, let me write next, if I get it or not. You write next A. Run here. Okay, you are not getting. Oh, next B I have to write. Next B. You are getting 10. Okay. So you go on writing next. Behind for loop. This way you are getting printout. Okay. Next B. Once again 20. Then write next B. Then next B. The problem is they need a print statement also here. See, one by one, you got printouts 10, 20, 30, 40. Even I can write once more, because I've defined here up to 50. So I get up to 50. But next time if you write, you get stop iteration. So it will only go up to this. After that, up to this. After that, it will stop. So you get stop iteration. Okay. So here what will happen is your iteration will stop. So when you are running a for loop here this way, behind for loop, you will be able to know later. This is what happening. Okay. So you get up to this. So never try to print this one. You get one by one. Now let me discuss regarding iterables and iterators. Remember, A is one iterable. Okay, how can you do that? You can check it, print directory of A. So you can mark here the iter method. Iter method is here. So again, this is called dunder method, special method. When we learn object-oriented programming, then you will be able to know how this method works. But now remember, if it is a iter method, then it's an iterable. This is an iterable. The list is an iterable, but it's not an iterator. So you can say something like a parallelogram and rhombus. Every rhombus is a parallelogram, but every parallelogram is not a rhombus. That way. Okay. So otherwise it's not true. Every iterable is not necessarily an iterator. This is an iterable here, but this is not an iterator. How you know this is an iterable? You check the directory, and we check here, we have a iter method, iter. If you apply iter method to a iterable, then the iterable will transfer to an iterator, and the iterator gives prints. It's a lazy kind. It prints element one by one, and you don't have next method here, you see. That's why if you directly try with A, you will not get. Suppose instead of B, I will try with A here. Next A. Okay. You forget about this for a moment. Let's try with next A. There is a problem. There is a problem because you see the cause, the reason. List object is not an iterator. It's not an iterator. It's directly not an iterator. It's an iterable. So iter method you have to apply. So if we apply iter method, then now B is an iterator. A is iterable. You have to apply iter method to change it to iterable, to transfer to iterable. Sorry, A is a iterable. You apply iter method, you transfer to an iterator. Then you check directory of B.
Hello,
Now see,
sir.
yeah,
So I cannot understand about the next function.
yeah. I'm saying, see, you have iter here, and then along with that, you have next method. Next method. That's how it's developed, it's constructed. Okay, so you have a next method means when you write next, you will get the elements. See, here when I wrote I in E, print I. So you go to E, here I've written PITH, or you go to suppose A, here you print next means, so you are here now, you print next means 10 will be printed. You next means 20 will be printed. Next means 30 will be printed. Next means 40 will be printed. Then next means there is nothing, so nothing will be printed. Now here next means 10 will be printed, next 20, whatever is here, next 30, next 40. So if you say next, one element will be printed. What is the benefit of writing next, or why we needed next? I will go to that. If you write next, this will be printed. If you write next, this will be printed. The benefit of this is we are not printing using the index, because you can use indexing only for sequences in Python. These are the important sequences in Python. The string is a sequence in Python. Sequence means what? Sequence means there is a link 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So automatically it should come. If you have an Excel file, if you write in the first cell, you write 1, then in the second cell, you write 2, then you drag it, automatically you will get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because it understands that you are writing 1, 2, 3. If you write 1, you drag it, you will get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So sequence is something, there is a natural ordering. See here, when we say there it's a sequence, automatically next, if you write next, automatically after 0, 1 comes, because the elements are different. After 0, then comes 1, then comes 2, then comes 3. Here 0, E0 is P, E1 is Y, E2 is T, E3 is H. Similarly, A0 is 10, A1 is 20, A2 is 30, A3 is 40. Here B0 is 10, B1 is 20, B2 is 30, B3 is 40. So for all these three types, which are called sequences in Python, you can get access to the elements using indices, the index, because index, they are the same. They depend on the position, and there is ordering 0, 1, 2, 3 that way. So you can get access to these elements writing the for loop in the traditional way. The first time I wrote using index AI. For I in range, you print AI. But that will not work for these two. So do you have a method? The question now is, do you have a method where you can get access to elements of all main data types of Python? Yes, this way you can write. So here we are not trying to print the elements using index. We try to print the elements, whatever it is, you just print that. Okay, suppose for I in E, print I, I've written here E, or maybe you write it A here. For I in A, print I. So for I in A means it will try to get access to the next element. Next element is 10, it will print 10, then next. So behind the for loop, we don't see. If you know the construction behind for loop, it happens this way. Next means you are here, the next element will be printed, then next 20 will be printed, then next 30 will be printed, next 40 will be printed. But we tried to print that here, we didn't get. If you remember, if I directly write next here, you see I write next day, I got an error. But how you got here? Here no error, we got. If I run it here, I got 10, 20, 30, 40, right? So how you get it? Actually behind this for loop, the next method is applied. So but here when I write here, I got an error. So what happens is, when you write a for loop, behind the for loop, it transfers the iterables. These all are iterables to iterators. The iter method is applied behind. So you have to apply iter method to transfer it to an iterator. That's what I explained you. So you apply iter method to the iterable. These all are iterables, and transfer to iterator. Then you try to print one by one. Print next B. Before printing, if you want to make it sure, let me run it. See, I got 10. So here, make it sure that list is an iterable, and then the next one, B is iter applied to list. B is not list. B is a iterator now. B is a iterator, because see, three things are important here in Python: iterable, iterator, generator. Okay, and sequence types also you have to know what are sequence types and what method you can apply there. and here what method you can apply. These all are containers, let me tell you, though we don't use frequently. Container means you can keep something, okay? But let's forget about containers for the time being. Remember, this is very important because whatever you learn later, there you have to know what you can use. So everything is given in terms of iterator and iterables. Iterable is something which can be transferred to an iterator by applying iter method. That is the definition. So then by printing next, you can get all the elements. Now again, I am showing you here. I will print directory of A. Then I will print directory of B. You check here, you will be able to understand the difference. See, in directory of A, okay, in directory of A, you have iter method here, iter method. That means it's a iterable. You can apply iter method to transfer to an iterator. However, if you come here, you have next method as well. And remember, iterables are iterators are iterable. So iter method is there. Iter method is here, iter method is here. How you can differentiate? By the next method. You don't have next method. You don't have next method here. If you check in A, you don't have next method. So directly you can apply next method. You see there is no next method here. There is no next method here. Only you have iter method. However, if you see this, you have next method. When you have next method, you apply next method, then transfer it to iterator. We applied iter method, we transfer to an iterator, then here applying next method, you get one by one element, okay? That's why there is a saying, it's lazy type. It will print only one at a time. You have to go on writing next. And in these kind of for loops, the next method is applied. And first of all, behind for loop changes the iterables to iterators. These things are automatically changed here to iterators because these are iterables, okay? And then it prints one by one. That is the thing behind the for loops. So if you apply this, everything, because everything is all are iterables here, everything is an iterable, so you can change to iterator. Directly you can change and you can check here, okay? So we have checked for list now. So remember, list is a iterable. It can be changed to an iterator. You apply iter method. Iter changes an iterable to an iterator. B is an iterator. A is an iterable. You can't apply next method to A. You can apply next method to B because it's an iterator. Iterator is itself an iterable. So that's why it will have iter method also. Now you apply next method and try to get one by one. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, anyway, I mean, you can get access to the elements otherwise also. You take tuple here and then you run it. We don't need the directory though. If you want, you can check it once. You have iter method once again, somewhere it will be there. Iter method, you don't have next method here. Now see, you have iter method, you have next method. So the same thing will work here. You just go on writing next, you will get the elements. Now write a set here, because remember, by the first for method, we were unable to print these elements. That's why we applied this method. We applied this method means this way it works. So let's try for this one. See, set as iter method. So it's an iterable. You apply iter method to change it to iterator. Now B is an iterator. So it's an iterable in itself. Then it's a iterator as well. So you can apply next method here and you can get one by one element. Okay. So I can write here as well. Print next B. If you write A here, you will not get. These are there anyway. You see, I got 40 here. You should get 10, right? Okay, it's a set. Set has no ordering. It's not that you will get only 10, then 20 that way. You try with all next, you will get everything. That's how. Because it's a set. But you can print more than 4 times. If you have 4 elements, randomly you will get one by one, 40, 10, 50, 20 that way. Okay. How many? 5 are there? You can try 5 times. That's all. Now come to dictionary. D.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. You can ask.
So, what is actually an iterable and an iterator by definition? What they are, what are the uses of iterators and iterables in Python or programming?
Yeah, directly you will be able to know later. Whatever you will see, they are given in terms of iterable. Suppose you create a list comprehension. Later, all things will come. There, if you want to write what you can take there. What are the iterable? Iterable means automatically you have the next thing. Okay. Suppose you will ask whether a number, suppose integer, I will write g is equal to 60. This is a iterable or not? This is my question. Going by whatever I discussed.
No, it's not an iterable.
Why you think it's not an iterable?
So I don't know how to figure it out, but I think like a list or a set or a tuple is an iterator or iterable. Sorry.
So iterable is a Python object. Okay, we'll do more of these things once I will introduce you object-oriented programming. So you just can remember it's a Python object and it's capable of returning members one at a time. That's all. However, when you apply a for loop, then iter method is applied behind. That's how it changes to an iterator. Then it gives you one by one element that you will be able to know once you learn object-oriented programming, and there I will be able to show you how it happens. But for the time being, you can remember certain thing which will give you one element at a time. That's an iterable. That's all.
Okay, sir. So G is an iterator or not?
No, G is even not iterable. See, iterator is a higher one. Iterable is a subset of iterator. You can say that way. First of all, it should be an iterable. For that only you can apply iter method to change it to an iterator. Got it? It should be an iterable. G is not an iterable at all. See, I will try to apply iter method to G. I can write G60 here. Let me cut everything now. Suppose I will write G60, then I will try to iter method here. See what it says, integer object is not an iterable. So now, because for the first time you hear this, your problem, you see, every time we'll be using this one, because when you try to learn conceptually, you should be able to know what exactly you can put there. In lot of instances it will come. For the timing, you remember, it is the capability of returning one at a time. Okay. And how it's possible? Iterable, because iterable says iter methods. After applying iter methods only, you can transfer to an iterator, and iterator, they have the capability of printing one element at a time when you write next. This is the way it's constructed actually. Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Can we say sets and dictionaries, are they iterables or iterators?
yes, they are iterables.
Even sets and dictionaries are iterables, right?
Yes, iterables. All whatever I showed you, they are iterables. All are iterables. You have to apply, apart from this one, all are iterables. Iterables means what? They have iter method. So if you want to test whether these are iterables or not, first I showed you, I run for loop like this. For loop, you are applying this way, that means all are iterables. Okay. So what I will do is, I will write a integer, suppose 79, and I will try to apply a for loop to get one at a time, 7, 9. I will not get, because it's not an iterable. What for loop can do is, if you have a iterable, there you can apply this kind of a for loop, not when you are trying to get access of the elements by taking their indices, the index. In that case, we are not applying, this for loop. Okay. So here, if you are applying this way, whatever in A, you print that. So this is in G, you print that. Suppose I will write G here. Whatever in G you print, will it print? It's not printing. And what reason it's giving? See, the reason also it's giving, integer object is not iterable. That means if something is an iterable, it doesn't matter, it's a list, it's a tuple, it's a set, it's a dictionary. These, even it's a string as well. So all these are iterables. That's why you can apply for loop. Behind for loop, for loops takes an iterable and transfers to an iterator by applying their iter methods, and then produce one element at a time. You get, that's how you see, if I change it to A, why you are getting this way? 10, 20, 30, 40 all. There might be some problem. Yeah, 10 here. Okay, I have to run it once again. A, then I write it. I got 10, 20, 30, 40, 1 at a time. So when I write a print statement, I in A, that means first one, that will be printed. So how it gets printed? So the next method, because it's an iterable, for loop takes this iterable and applies iter method within that. You will be able to see and know, maybe after 5-6 classes when I start object oriented programming. Then after printing 10, again next method is applied behind, then again it gives the next element. That way, once 40 reaches, there is something called stop iteration, that is even applied, and it stops the iteration. Okay, so this kind of a for loop, if you see R programming or C programming or even other JavaScript also, we have the other kind when you take the elements by taking index. Okay, in this method we apply iterable iterator concept here. So remember, if something is an iterable, even though by definition we say it has the capability of giving element one by one, directly it's not possible. That's what you need to understand. Even if you remember in second or third class, I said them that okay, we'll go, later we'll go and we'll learn iterable and iterators. Then now just accept this. That way I said you before also. Iterables, they have the capability of giving one by one element, not directly, only after applying this method, iter method. Okay, so this is not possible. Now see what I wrote here: iterables and iterators. List is a iterable, and iter method can be applied to make it an iterator. Okay, you make it an iterator, then you do the task. That way you change all iterables to iterators and then print one element at a time. And you can see the directory and you can decide what is an iterable, what is not an iterable. Yeah, now my question, if you have any question, you can ask me before I ask you a question.
So in case of set, I just noticed that we were getting random numbers. Like we had 10, 20, 30, 40. And when we were printing next of B, so we were getting 40, then some random number. Why was that
No.
happening?
You see, you get all the elements of a set, but set itself, the numbers are not arranged whatever way we write. That's why you are getting that way. Next means what? See, suppose I go to a market and I bring something. I have you or some books or fruits or vegetables, whatever I brought already. Then you are asking me one by one. You are saying, give me one. You know that I have 5 items in the bag. You are asking one by one. I will give you one. When you say next, then I will give the other. Then I will give the other. That way, I will give you everything. Then next time when you ask, then stop iteration. That means I will say, no, it's already over. There is nothing else. So the work is over. That way it works. So because set is not an ordered one, set is not ordered. There is no such ordering. That's why it gives, even if you print in Python 2 point something, in Python 3, though first time when you print, you might get in the order, whatever way we have written, you have written, but it's not that way. Whatever way you have written, they are not stored in the same way. Okay, there is no ordering in set. Okay, that's why it's giving one by one. Randomly, when you say, that's not a word. Randomly means randomly it will give, but it will not give 50 to you. If it has 4 elements, maybe you get 40 for the first time, 20 for the next time, 10 for the next time, 30. You will not get 50 anyway. That is only in case of a set, because there is no such ordering in sets. Okay. Next means what? Whatever is available next, you give. In set, there is no ordering. That's how you get it.
So,
Yeah.
so in case we are not using the iter function, and we are not using the next, so in that alternative we can use for loop.
Listen, even we will not be using next iter method. This is to know. To know, you spend some time, 1 hour, half an hour, whatever, so that when whatever you do next, you'll be able to know. When I say, okay, you will ask me, no, so what I can write there in list compression, what I can write. I will say, no, see here, any iterable you can write. So then you will ask, what is an iterable? That I have to say you. Not only that is one reason. The second reason is directly will mostly will not try to generate elements, print elements this way, but behind for loop, these are automatically applied. Okay, behind for loop, the iter method is automatic. When you write a for loop like this, I in a, not by index. When you write for I in a print I, iter method is applied to all those iterables, and that way these for loops, they're able to print elements one by one.
Okay, so okay, got it.
So how many for loops you have? How many types for loops you can write to print the elements of different data types? The four or five types I've written.
So please repeat.
The two types of for loops I showed you before, right?
Yes, sir.
So out of those two types of for loops, what kind of for loops you can use for set, for example? Type 1 or type 2?
Type 2.
Type 2.
Type 2, yeah, type 2. Type 2, because you don't have a concept of index in set, right? You don't
Yeah.
have a concept of index in sets. That's why we use type 2. In dictionary also we use type 2. But you don't need iterable, iterators, and these kind of for loops where the next method is applied. These kind of for loops you don't need for sequences. Let me go to sequences. See, I've written sequences in Python. These are sequences in Python where you use type 1 of for loops. Here we don't apply any such iter method. Okay, in these types, for these three, tuple, list, and string, because these are sequences, we have two more containers. These are the three. So here, using type 1 for loops, you can print, and here when you run a type 1 for loop, you just get access of element one by one, taking their index. So you are not using iterable iterator concept. And in these type of for loops, when you write this way, for I in range, when you write this way, iter method is not applied. I in range, suppose for you print suppose ai. When I write this, I'll get one by one, a naught, a1, a2, a3, that way. In that case, what will happen? Directly I will get elements by taking the indices. Okay, the index of 10, index of 20, 30, 40. I will get one by one element here. For the tuple also, for this one. So these are sequences. So if you write for loop for sequences in Python, you can write this way. You take the index and you try to get the elements. That's possible. However, if you want to apply for loop for the other two types, sets and dictionary, you can't apply this way. So you have to write this way, which will work for all, not necessarily for sequences, but for all these type of for loops, they will work. So what you can do is, you have to transfer. So if you want to see manually how actually you are getting print out, you can go here and you can see, like already I have I apply iter method to a. Okay, then this is iterable. Then I will print next. Can I write directly? Let me try. Because if I am writing directly, every time I have to write iter. That's what. Yeah, we are getting this way. So you change it to iter, b, you write iter a, because every time when you are changing first element, it will give. That's the problem. So then you write next b here. Then you get next b. Then there will be no confusion. Now, what is a here? Important concept to remember. What is a here?
Iterable.
Yes, a is an iterable. Is a an iterator?
No, A is not an
No,
iterator.
no,
Yeah, that's fine. A is
A
not
is
an
not an
iterator.
iterator.
How about b? B is iterable or iterator?
Iterator.
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 Is b an iterable?
No.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, because iterator is an iterable. See, if you remember, I showed you the directory. In the directory, if you check the directory of B, you will see B will have iter method and next method both. Why iter method? You are not using iter method for B, you are only using next method, because iterator is also an iterable. Even if you ask me, first time when you asked what is the definition of an iterable, I said you, okay, it is the capability of giving you one element at a time, but with the help of iter method. That's a separate thing. Iterable is changed to iterator. Then iterator is giving one by one element. Other way also you can say, if the definition of iterable is asked, you can say iterable is something. It's an object first of all, and we can get iterator from it. Iterable is something from where you can get iterator. Even I must have said this one first time, second time, this is third time I am repeating. Iterable is something from where you can get an iterator by applying iter method. Very simple. You go to the directory and you check. Now you are applying. Later you will be able to know that under the special methods how you use when you go to object-oriented programming. There you will be able to apply these special methods. You will be able to know how things work behind. Now, okay, you got it that A is an iterable and B is an iterator. Iterator is an iterable, so B is also an iterable.
Yes.
B is an iterator, and B you can apply iter method to B, next method to B. We are not interested in iter method for B, so we apply next method to B because B is both an iterable and iterator. Similarly, not only for sets, for all 5 types I wrote, you can apply this way and you can get one element at a time. You can print one element at a time. And in different stages, when we complete base Python, you will see we'll apply the iter and iter method iterables extensively.